What's up, Timmy Turners? We are back at it again with another reaction episode video, and today we are going to be watching by 6. This is the high IQ of Jiraiya versus Pain. Now, we just going to get right into it. Again, I just finished Boruto. Now, I'm currently on Bleach right now, so I'm happy about that. Oh yeah, since we're going to be on the topic of Drain and Pain, Master Jiraiya and Pain shit, there was this video clip of Naruto that I saved up on TikTok about when Pain was fighting Naruto, and I ain't gonna lie, Pain was speaking facts, but we gonna talk about that later on. But yeah, I will put his channel in the link in the description below, so go follow him. And yeah, let's just get on with this conversation.
Jiraiya is a pervert loser. He spends his free time spying on women in baths unknowingly and agreed to train Naruto under the conditions that Naruto turned into naked women for him. He was unable to save his student Minato. His unsuccessful tracking let Orochimaru successfully infiltrate Konoha and assassinate the third Hokage, and he failed his infiltration mission to gather intel on the leader of the Akatsuki, dying all alone, sinking to the bottom of the ocean.
Wait a minute, my thing about it is, I think it was somebody made a video, or I think it was a poll. It was a question of during the time that Orochimaru attacked the village. It was a poll asking the question why Master Jiraiya didn't wasn't around at that time when he was destroying the village and he killed the third Hokage. But yeah,
ocean while thinking about his failure of a life and hoping that his student can clean up the mess he happened to make with his other student in the past.
But goddamn,
at least that's one way to look at Jiraiya. He was also trained by the third Hokage and went on to teach both the future 4th and 7th Hokage. He stopped in the middle of a war to train 3 kids from a rival village that the shinobi of his village had made orphans, and sacrificed his life during a simple intel gathering mission to make sure that intel made its way back home to the hands of the people who could hopefully deal with the current biggest threat to the shinobi world. Regardless of what all happened in Jiraiya's life, it came to an end one day in the Rain Village when he took on the leader of the Akatsuki and his former student Nagato, who was masquerading as Pain. Today, we're going to take a look at this fight as it happens in the manga, as well as the build up to the fight, as I believe the fight itself is heavily misinterpreted. Before we get started, I'd like to ask if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, as I really appreciate it.
But goddamn, you don't need to go in on that. I mean, there is a lot of flaws in Naruto as a whole, especially when it comes to Master Jiraiya. And not only that, I think it's a part that he forgot to point out that his Sage mode is incomplete, which is so fucking like crazy to me because he is a legendary Sani. How the hell you are a legendary ninja and your Sage mode is incomplete? Your Sage mode is not even stronger than Kabuto, Jugo, and Jugo possess Sage mode. Naruto, even the first Hokage, but I kind of feel like not even him. So it's kind of strange that his Sage mode is not even fully powered. So
that's insane. I can't see your screen from here anymore.
what type of shit is that? But yeah, that shit is crazy.
This fight slowly takes place over the course of around 6 chapters, and in my opinion is pretty special. While it is portrayed as a simple intel gathering mission that doesn't even seem to hold up until the end of the chapter, everything is tense as soon as Jiraiya enters the village, noting that the infiltration was easy, too easy at that, and Pain telling immediately by detecting him that Jiraiya is a threat. Most villages have some sort of detection system, that way enemy shinobi cannot just come in and out as they please. The Leaf Village has the Yamanaka clan, which puts a barrier around the entire village, and anyone who enters.
And I'll watch a clip of her sensory powers is way beyond past her father, so she's impressive. So yeah,
the barrier has their chakra immediately detected, and chakra that is not recognized gets flagged and labeled as a threat. Jiraiya does not know that the rain in the Rain Village is actually a jutsu from Pain that allows him to sense things. Data Book 3 tells us a sensory ninjutsu Pain can manipulate at will. Essentially, Rainmaker Jutsu is imbued with his chakra.
I did not know that.
In Amigakure, it rains.
I mean, a rain jutsu, I kind of heard of it. I feel like it was a thing. I thought it was a rain jutsu to where it can seal off your opponent's ninjutsu, but maybe I'm just making that up. But I didn't know it could censor opponents.
Every Sunday, Pain creates this rainfall from rain clouds that he forms with his own chakra. Each and every raindrop is intimately linked with his senses because the chakra of those who are not Amigakure will block the rain. Pain is able to sense the presence of intruders. Pain always applies this jutsu when he leaves the village, maintaining watch over Amigakure. This is described as a tight security net surrounding the village. It's easy to talk about what Jiraiya did wrong during this mission, but I think it's just as easy to talk about what Jiraiya did right during this mission. Within even a day of infiltrating...
And my thing about it, I kind of feel like he didn't need to die. I feel like that was so unnecessary.
The village, probably hours of infiltrating the village, Jiraiya had already captured 2 enemy shinobi and was successfully interrogating them. He doesn't get much information, but from what he knows and having to fight Pain potentially, he thinks it might be a good idea to leave the key for Naruto's seal with Naruto himself because he doesn't know if he's going to win this fight. And I should also mention, Jiraiya also successfully captures Konan as well. The only reason Konan gets out of this is because Pain shows up and uses the crab, which gets rid of Jiraiya's oil.
Yeah, because I heard that Kona, her paper powers, she cannot do it when it's raining because they make the paper all soggy. So she creates some type of oil that it allows her to use her paper ability. Even when she even in water, she able to use her paper power. Yeah, because I watched a clip of that as well.
Speaking of Pain, now the fight begins. Chapter 374 is Jiraiya versus the Animal Path. Jiraiya immediately one-shots the crab that managed to save Konan, and after a brief talk with who he considers to be Nagato, they both pull out new summons. Nagato pulling out the Chameleon, and Jiraiya pulling out Gamaken.
But if you
At the beginning of chapter 375, Jiraiya lets us know that he's not going to be playing around against an opponent like Pain, and he's immediately going all out from the get-go. He plans on summoning the 2 great sage frogs, but he claims to Gamaken that he needs some time in order to do that, and Gamaken needs to buy him that time.
To transform, that's what I'm saying, that his sage mode is incomplete. It's like...
The Animal Path goes inside of the Chameleon's mouth.
Just like he just stated, there are so many flaws that when he was in the Hidden Rain Village fighting Pain and Kona, there are certain ways that he could have get it right that could have prevented him from dying. Like his sage mode, of course, and he said something about the rain is like a chakra to where it could detect your enemies. So if he would have known that, then the mission would have been a lot smoother. So basically, he would have never died.
Mouth, which then goes invisible, and in response to being invisible, Jiraiya decides to use barrier ninjutsu. Pain notices what this barrier ninjutsu is, considering he was trained by Jiraiya after all, and starts to attack with a new summon. Gamaken and the dog fight off screen for a while, and during this off-screen fight, we know that the dog at least used its split up ability because Jiraiya says when it's about to do it again that it's about to do it again. However, this time it seems to be too much for Gamaken as they attack from above, disarm him, and then the bird comes down and strikes Gamaken all the way down to the ground. Pain debuts a new summon which looks like a bull, and Jiraiya starts to wonder why Pain is only using summoning ninjutsu against him, thinking that it might be because Pain views him as beneath the need for direct confrontation. Jiraiya tells Gamaken to go home, and the bull immediately rushes Jiraiya. Entering Sage mode at what I can only assume to be just the right moment, Jiraiya kicks the bull away, immediately one-shotting it. We see a silhouette and the chapter ends.
Don't get me wrong, Master Jiraiya, he looks good in the Sage mode, but my nigga, you could've... But he was struggling.
Do you support Israel and the Jewish people? Now, more than ever, Israel needs committed...
Oh, shit. Trump? Oh my
At the
god.
beginning of chapter 376, Kishimoto really tries to display a point here that the sage frogs are above Jiraiya himself. They mention how Jiraiya has to start being able to go into sage mode himself, and Jiraiya says that compared to the two of them, he's still a babe in swaddling clothes. Jiraiya tells them about the current situation, and Ma immediately knows the type of animal that Pain.
And my thing about it is, he trained in Mount Myoku, so what kind of training did he did that's not let him able to complete the sage mode fully? So that is a really interesting question that I'm curious about. Again, you are a legendary Sonic, and you couldn't do sage mode without the frogs, because I heard about that as well. That they point out in the show.
Summon, calling them one of the chameleon species.
Because
Jiraiya
Naruto,
says
he
that
can do it
erected a
without the
barrier,
frogs.
But Ma says that just maintains a stalemate, so she wants to drag them out using creature detection jutsu. Ma uses this jutsu. Pain notes that it's really fast, tries to move, but Ma grabs the chameleon anyway, and then Pa uses a high pressure water jutsu and cuts the
I don't know why I said this jutsu was a water jutsu. It's just his tongue. I mean, he's a frog, so frog is like, they live under, like, water is like their thing, so I guess you can count as a water jutsu, if you get what I'm saying.
chameleon in half. If you haven't been keeping track, out of the 5 animals that Nagato has summoned so far, Jiraiya has defeated 3 of them. Taking this into account, no doubt, Pain decides to summon 2 other bodies there as well. Going into chapter 377, the fight is now
Honor
a 3v3.
Sage Mode.
Jiraiya, Ma, and Pa versus the Animal Path, Predator Path, and Human Path. Ma and Pa get into an argument, and Pain seems to try and capitalize on them not being coordinated, but Jiraiya isn't in the argument himself, and he kicks this Pain in the eyes, disabling its vision for the rest of the fight. Ma, Pa, and Jiraiya decide to use oil jutsu that's amplified by both fire and wind release, but the Predator Path just absorbs it all in an instant. Jiraiya decides that he needs to know what happened and tries to go in for a closer look.
And that's another flaw that we gotta also point out, is that there is a pattern to defeat the sage path, just like Naruto did with Pain. So it's like you gotta take out the one that it's the other Pain that bring the Akatsuki back to life when it's gone. And after you do that, you gotta defeat the other Pain that absorbs the ninjutsu, so forth and so forth. So it's like a pattern to defeating the Pains.
If
that makes sense.
And leaps at the Predator Path with a massive Rasengan.
Because didn't Lady Kasui tell Naruto is a pattern to defeating them? Which I'm pretty sure she did, but
the Predator Path not only tanks the Rasengan at first, but then just absorbs it all anyway. While the jutsu is being absorbed, the Human Path once again tries to attack Jiraiya. In response to that, Pa throws a smoke bomb on the floor, and they get behind the Human Path. Jiraiya tries to punch the Human Path in the back, but the Human Path does manage to block his hand, which makes Jiraiya confused. We see outside the smoke that the Animal Path was watching, and that's how the Human Path was able to block Jiraiya's strike. This is weird to me because the Animal Path doesn't see the frog that jumps out of the smoke and is surprised by it, but if he could see inside the smoke the entire time, he should know that Jiraiya set that up inside of the smoke. Regardless, Jiraiya uses Kabari Senbon to attack the Animal Path from behind, but the Animal Path summons a panda to block all the needle strikes, and we see that the Predator Path is looking at Jiraiya, which prevented the sneak attack from being successful. I think it's pretty impressive that Pain managed to evade Kabari Senbon, considering this is Jiraiya's fastest attack in Sage Mode, and the data book elaborates a bit. Hairs from one's head are hardened and fired at the target one after another.
I can't see
The speed
that.
of this attack is the fastest among attacks in Sage Mode. With Ma and Pa invigorating the roots of Jiraiya's hair, even as he fires his chakra-infused Kabari, he can fire nearly infinite number of shots. At the beginning of chapter 378, Jiraiya lets us know that under these circumstances where his jutsu are being nullified and he has to face 3 at once, even in Sage Mode, he would be killed. Knowing this, they decide to retreat.
Not just Sage Mode, say incomplete Sage Mode. Because just like you stated, he can't do Sage Mode without the frogs. So let's state that.
Into the pipes, and they start to devise a plan to beat Pain. The main part of this plan is centering around Gamma Rensho. Ma and Pa start the process for Gamma Rensho, Pain hears where it's coming from and immediately rushes to Jiraiya's location. This is all part of the plan, however. One of Jiraiya's clones comes off the wall in the background and shoots a fireball which distracts the Predapath. The Predapath begins absorbing Jiraiya's fireball jutsu while the other Pains jump over the fireball and one of them gets stuck in the ceiling. This was all part of Jiraiya's plan to lure this into...
And again, if he would have absorbed Sage Mode, because there was the one thing that he also said is that Sage nature energy is really hard to control and it fucks up your damn body. So if he would have done that, then he would have took out that pain that absorbed ninjutsu. That's also you gotta point out.
What he considers to be a one-on-one fight between him and the animal path. With two paths being disabled and the animal path clearly not being enough.
And I'm sorry, I'm keep pausing a lot, but there's also a thing I gotta mention is, I don't know, doing the Boruto series in the future, ain't Konohamaru is gonna do Sage Mode later on. I hope he would, because like I said before, I really want him to get some more TV time. He got a little bit of a TV time doing Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. Even in Boruto, he got some more, but I want to see him more on the show. No shade.
For Jiraiya, as demonstrated earlier, Nagato tries to use the animal path to summon in even more pains. Jiraiya, being aware of this, kicks the animal path before he's able to complete the summon, letting him know that he's not going to let him summon anymore. Directly after the animal path is sent flying away, the setup for Gamma Rensho is complete and all three pains are trapped inside the Genjutsu.
Ultimate
Although it might
Genjutsu.
sound impressive to be able to one-shot three pains with this Genjutsu, the databook makes this jutsu even more impressive than that, describing it as two or more toads sing in harmony to a musical scale, passed down on Mount Miyaboku secretly.
I ain't gonna lie, that's my favorite Genjutsu. That's really impressive. That and the Tsukunomi, I like that. What's Genjutsu? Ifrin Tsukunomi, that's good also. And I think that's it.
Are drawn into a Genjutsu world where their minds are paralyzed. Because it takes many long years of training to acquire, presently, only the two great Sage Toads couple can perform the jutsu. At Mount Miyaboku, there is sheet music for Genjutsu recognized since ancient times.
Oh, so that's not really a
lyrics and
jutsu.
melody
Okay.
that only toads can produce invokes the most powerful Genjutsu. Even if the target's number in the hundreds, it makes no difference. Each and every one who hears the Gamma Rensho of their minds and bodies are sealed in the clutches of a giant Gamufuda. The jutsu.
But my thing about it, how much of this Genjutsu can hold people? Just 3 or more?
Surrounds the opponent in all 4 directions with massive toads and seals them behind a barrier. The toads will not release their grasp until the caster gives the order. All that is left is for the caster to finish off his captives in the real world. And Jiraiya does just that. As we cut back to Jiraiya in the real world, all 3 pains are dead with stone swords stabbed in their chest. Jiraiya begins to walk away, saying that he's made his decision, when another path of pain comes up behind him and says that Jiraiya told him not to let his guard down. I feel like this statement is misinterpreted, as people seeming to believe that this is him telling Jiraiya that he let his guard down. Whenever Jiraiya hit Nagato with the Genjutsu, he credits it to Nagato not being on guard to the Genjutsu coming. He says, "I thought I taught you, Nagato, not to let your guard down no matter who the opponent is." Nagato didn't let his guard down. He heard the Genjutsu, recognized it as a Genjutsu, and whenever he was at a disadvantage, he summoned the other 3 paths in. The Predapath attacks Jiraiya, and this attack leads Jiraiya to losing an entire arm. They noticed that this was a different pain and that he was probably summoned earlier, and Paw says, "Oh, I see," before he got trapped in the Genjutsu. Pain saying, "You taught me not to let my guard down," was not saying that Jiraiya let his guard down. He's letting Jiraiya know that he didn't let his guard.
Now that should have been the time that you should have just went off, bruh. But you also gotta think about, if he did could have run off, then the Akatsuki's would have chased him, and then he never would have made it out there alive. So, but still, I would have just went off if I was him.
Down. He did indeed have a countermeasure. And then for the first time, we get to see all 6 paths of pain. At the beginning of chapter 380, Jiraiya is starting to wonder who the paths of pain are, and he does
But 6 versus 1, that's kind of unfair fight, if you ask me. Come on now. 6 of y'all niggas jumping this old ass man. Come on now.
recognize Yahiko. After that, all the pains jump at Jiraiya, and the rest of the chapter is about
jumped
Sasuke
his
versus
ass.
Itachi.
Don't just take classes, take charge. Start your comeback today at purdueglobal.edu.
Don't raise dragons right off the bat. For new players, at the start of the game,
These
don't
damn
rush
ass,
to raise.
bruh. Wait a minute, didn't he just say Sasuke versus Pain? I don't think Sasuke would have never defeated Pain. Let's be clear. I heard something about in order to fight these damn niggas, you gotta possess some type of sage mode. Sasuke don't got no damn sage mode. He's powerful, but he don't got it. Wait, what he said? Let me rewind
Jiraiya,
that.
and the rest of the chapter is about Sasuke versus Itachi.
Oh, I'm about to say, I thought he said Sasuke
When we
versus Pain.
pick back up in chapter 381, Jiraiya has been stabbed by a chakra rod, but at the same time we notice that he managed to take out one of the paths of pain. He did so using his Keke barrier, Gamma Hyoro. The caster summons the gourd toad, Gamma Hyoten, who lives on Mount Miyaboku, then drags the target into the toad's stomach, where a sealed dimension isolated from the outside world exists. It is also possible to melt one's adversary by shoving him into a lake of acid. Jiraiya thinks for a while, goes back outside to look at the faces of Pain, and comes to the conclusion of who Pain is, but just in that moment, he gets his throat crushed. At this point, the fight is pretty much over. Jiraiya has now exited
He's
sage
gone.
mode, his throat is crushed, he has 5 rods in his back, and he's missing an arm.
He's gone,
I suppose
bruh.
now is a good time to mention that there's a good bit of fighting of Jiraiya versus Pain that happens off screen, at least according to the manga. The anime and games do fill in this spot, but it's mostly just Jiraiya dodging around the 6 paths of pain, and then like I showed in the manga, he's eventually going to get one of them trapped inside of the Gamma Hyoro. Jiraiya, on the literal brink of death, starts thinking about his life backwards, and he starts to think of himself as a failure. Just the way I described him in the intro.
Goddamn.
Unable to save his teacher, unable to save his student, but then he starts to think of Minato himself and the things that he did right. Gets a little...
Yeah, he was barely in the damn village. Don't get me wrong, I love Master Jiraiya, but at the same time, you can't sugarcoat shit. You gotta keep it the fuck real. There was a lot of flaws that he did in the Naruto series. But I could say the same thing about a bunch of characters in Naruto, like Fu, the Seven Tails Jinchuriki. She don't possess any type of bug techniques, but Shino does. So I kind of feel like they should have gave that Seven Tails towards Shino. What else? I mean, there's a bunch of flaws I can point out.
little bit of fighting spirit left and decides to write the message on the back of paw that would later lead to them figuring out
Tsunade, she don't possess any type of wood style, not even the level of wood style that Yamato has.
secret of who Pain was in the first place. The Pains notice Jiraiya getting back up and decide to go back in for one more killing blow, launching one of the Ashura Pass missile fists at Jiraiya, knocking him into the bottom of the ocean, and then Jiraiya dies. There's one more statement I want to address about this fight, even though, like I said, the fight is pretty much over. And that's Pain saying that if he didn't have this secret, Jiraiya probably would have won the fight. I do believe this to be in reference to the fact that he had 3 extra paths that he did not reveal. Had those extra paths been there on the battlefield whenever Gamma Rensho hit, Jiraiya would have caught all 6 Pains in the Genjutsu and been able to win the fight from that. I don't think it makes
Even with his incomplete... okay, that makes so much sense. Okay.
sense based on how the fight played out for Pain to be saying that Jiraiya and Ma and Pa are stronger than him here. As we mentioned earlier, Jiraiya said that he would be killed by the 3 paths he was fighting if the fight continued the way it was going. But that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, obviously, leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel, and other than that,
Yeah, and obviously, you know, just like he said, follow his page. I will put his YouTube page in a link in the description below, so go follow him and go follow my page. Yeah, like, I feel like he ain't saying nothing wrong in this video. He pretty much, you know, said everything right. You know, the pros and the cons. And, you know, that's about it. But like I said before, I kind of... Well, he did touch light on it, but he didn't say the exact same words I said about, you know, the incomplete sage mode. But yeah, I kind of like this video. It was a very fun video. I want to know in the comments below what you guys think of this whole, you know, Jiraiya and Pain shit. What do you think that could have happened or should have happened that should not supposed to happen? What are the pros and cons that y'all have point out? And yeah, and I will see you guys in the next video. Y'all take care.